And a mind that is filled with beliefs, with dogmas, with assertions, with quotations, is really an uncreative mind. It is not an empty tumbler, and it is full of it already. It is merely a repetitive mind. To escape from that fear of stagnation, of not arriving, not succeeding, not achieving, not being something is surely one of the reasons of accepting a belief. Then again, faith is seen as areas beyond science and rationality, areas that are concerned with metaphysics, mysticism, matters that are suprasensual. The Christian philosophy, however, contemplates that faith without reason is superstition. Christian philosophy contemplates that faith without reason is superstition, and reason without faith loses itself in uncertainty. The Vedantic view, however, contends that knowledge gained from the scriptural authority cannot be termed as irrational belief. Swami Satprakashananda, in one of the beautiful epistemologies of Hinduism, methods of knowledge, he says, the information gained from an authoritative statement is valid cognition of a fact or truth. Though mediate like inferential knowledge, it should not be regarded as mere belief, and consequently something different from knowledge, where concept of belief and knowledge merge. Unfortunately, the Western thinkers have shown a general tendency in this direction. The words of the trustworthy Aptavakya are a veritable source of human knowledge. They carry conviction without proof. The thrust of this epistemology accepts belief as a form of knowledge derived from the authoritative statements. William Pepperell Montagu, in The Ways of Knowing, he says this: we get more of our beliefs from the testimony of our fellow men than from any other source. Little of our knowledge of the universe is directly tested by our own intuition, reason and experience or practice. We accept and trust 9/10 of what we hold to be true. Even in science, the concept of truth itself is relative and not absolute. Max Planck, in his New Science, says, how can we say that a scientific concept to which we now ascribe an absolute character may not at some future date show itself to have only a relative significance and to point to a further absolute? To that question, only one answer can be given. After all I have said, and in view of the experience through which scientific progress has passed, we must admit that in no case can we rest assured what is absolute in science today will remain absolute for all time. The absolute represents the ideal goal, which is always ahead of us and which we can never reach. To bring the approach closer and closer to truth is the aim and effort of all science. There's also a beautiful integration, a relationship between faith and reason. Again, Swami Satprakashananda's words are worth recalling. He says, faith according to Vedanta must be grounded on reason. It is not credulous acceptance of the teachings of the Vedas or the seers, authoritative as they may be, as stated by Shankara, a firm conviction through discerning intellect of the truth of the teachings of the scriptures and as the spiritual guide is called by the sages Shraddha, the Sanskrit concept of faith. There is yet a neurological approach to the analysis of human behavior. This simply juxtaposes the neurological concept with the concept of fear that the famous Jadu Krishnamurti propounded. There is yet a neurological approach to the analysis of human behavior. According to neurologists, the record of human history indicates that in the major disasters in our history, individual aggressiveness of selfish motives played an almost negligible part compared to the unselfish loyalty and devotion to a tribe, to a nation, to a religion or a political ideology. This is not the result of belief as an emotional manifestation of fear, as argued by Jiddu Krishnamurti, but the result of the opposite, namely the neurological condition of self-effacement, not of fear, of self-effacement. It is suggested that the self-assertive tendencies in the emotional life of man, the self-assertive tendencies in the emotional life of man are less harmful to the species than his self-transcending or integrative tendencies. In a soldier, thousands of men have sacrificed their life for the sake of a leader, for a religion, a cause, or some kind of emotional issue. Debate may be incomplete without the role of mysticism, intuition, spirituality, extrasensory perception, parapsychology, and psychoneuroimmunology, and yet unexplored potential of the human brain. Our knowledge of neurology and of the brain's infinite potential is yet a small sphere in the vast expanse of the unknown. The expansion of this sphere only serves to expand the areas of contact with the unknown. Edgar Cayce's Many Mansions speaks of the phenomenon of reincarnation and the theory of karmic consequences. In these areas, our knowledge only serves to enhance our ignorance about them. Many such phenomena, one must admit, are not yet taught to science. One day, modern science will surely catch up with them and make these phenomena areas of its own scientific inquiry too. The very definition as to what is scientific will itself change. The scholars participating in this conference will illumine the emerging common areas of faith, reason, reverence in the elucidation of the key areas of this discourse. Ladies and gentlemen, the problem is a mystic problem, as our Revered Yam spoke the other day about demystifying spirituality. Ultimately, in the beautiful text of our Bhagavad Puran, there is a passage in which the Lord, there's a conversation between Kapila Muni and his mother Devahuti. The mother addresses the son as Prabhu, my Lord, and says, please clarify this position. What is that is the secret of worship? How do we worship at all? The Kapila Muni tells the mother, the only way to worship is to worship the inherent divinity in every human being, in every human heart. The Lord manifests Himself in every human heart as His own manifestation. If you don't worship that inherent divinity in every individual, don't come to me with precious gifts for prayer. This is the Lord's injunction to the people. In the beautiful passage of Shveta Shvetara, they say, Eko Avarno, the one who is colorless, who satisfies the requirements of Anekan Varnan, the people. The prayer is, make us all join together, combine us in the wisdom of goodness, unite us all in the wisdom of goodness. Ultimately, every philosophy, every pursuit of the real, every worship, ultimately should aim at one thing: unite us all in the wisdom of goodness, and that is ultimately the summum bonum of human existence. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak to you. But what I see, I've met great saints, had long discussions with them. Ultimately, when Sri Yam unravels the mysticism of existence, he says that how do you demystify spirituality? You think that everyone is a reflection of yourself, and what you do to others, you are going to do to yourself. That's about the summum bonum of all belief, all faith, and all religion, and all goodness. Thank you very much for your patience.
Thank you, Honorable Justice Venkatachalaya, for your inaugural address.